energy is awful. So let's start at the beginning. Okay, maybe not that far back, but 1980. When New Orleans had NOPSI, their publicly owned utility. But then, like any great decision move that was made in the 80s, we sold NOPSI and got Entergy. The New Orleans City Council can regulate Entergy New Orleans. Things like rate increases and service decisions. But they don't control Entergy Louisiana, which owns and operates the actual physical grid.
I've been robbed. Of course you've been robbed.
So my original idea of just not paying Entergy and putting our monthly bill payments into escrow until they fix our grid and commit to green energy resources and so on probably won't work. Even if everyone in New Orleans withheld payment to Entergy New Orleans, Entergy Louisiana still controls the power delivery infrastructure. So they can cut off electricity regardless of how many people are in escrow, and they just wouldn't care. We have an interconnected grid. The transmission grid is regionally managed in part by MISO and then in part by Entergy Louisiana. But here's the catch. Even if Entergy New Orleans wanted to make upgrades or switch to renewables, it would still depend on Entergy Louisiana's infrastructure to do that. But don't be discouraged because we have several options. Another option is a public utility campaign to take ownership back from Entergy. It's the ultimate power shift. Local control over our energy decisions, and we the people get all the say. This comes with a kind of big risk though, because it's a long legal war with Entergy, and it has a major startup cost. But, and it's a big but, there are several others who have succeeded, like Austin, our sweet little sister city who has a city-owned and hyper-focused on renewables public utility. And then, even in our own state, there's Lafayette Utilities. So before we get into our sister city victories and how they won over the corporate overlords...
You tell that slimy piece of worm-ridden filth he'll get no such pleasure from us, right?
Let's take a look at how we actually lost NOPSI. Basically what happened was in the mid-80s, NOPSI made a horrible fucking deal to buy a massive nuclear power plant called the Grand Gulf. Look at her. She's so huge. Anyway, it was such an awful idea and went so over budget that it wasn't worth what it would end up saving us in the end. It also wasn't going to produce as much power as everyone originally thought. The city was left paying high fixed costs for a resource that it didn't control, barely used, and residents were left the bill. City Council considered buying NOPSI to avoid costs tied to the Grand Gulf nuclear plant. But then NOPSI lanced a lobbying campaign that seeded public doubt and the benefits of public power. So the city won all their court victories against NOPSI, but in the end they ultimately backed off on ownership. There's a little backdoor, and it's in the franchise agreement. See, when the city made that deal, they left that door open for public ownership, but they have not acted on it. Not yet. So how do we get our NOPSI back? Let's look at Austin and how Austin gained and maintained control over its energy utility. Founded in 1895, Austin Energy began as a municipality-owned utility, a status that it has maintained for over a century. Owned by the city of Austin, Austin Energy operates as a nonprofit enterprise. There's a huge added bonus here though too. In recent years, Austin Energy has contributed substantial amounts to the city's general fund, funding city services such as parks, libraries, and public safety. Austin's utility serves as a model for how municipalities can effectively manage and benefit from public utilities, and I fucking love it. Okay, now let's do a very quick look at Lafayette. In the early 1900s, Lafayette established Lafayette Utility Systems, or LUS. They have reinvented themselves several times since then, with the most recent being Fiber for All. Lafayette voters approved their fiber initiative, leading to the creation of LUS Fiber. And of course, there's the fact that LUS contributes $24 million annually to the Lafayette Consolidated Government's General Fund. Anyway, hello, that's a lot of money. One more quick thing I want to reference, and that's Denmark. Denmark owns the majority of Ørsted, which is a huge energy company and a global leader in offshore wind. That means part of the revenues Ørsted makes, which is $24 billion in 2021, That all goes to the Danish government. Do you see what I'm saying? So in closing, the city of New Orleans has an agreement with Entergy New Orleans that has no expiration date, but gives the city the right to buy the utility at any time. So what's stopping us, and what are our next moves? I'll be back soon with more actions that we can do. I think I need to get city council on board, and I probably need your help to do that.